It's well known that the ABC pushes its radically left agenda whenever it can, and it's paid for by us. But most of us don't realise how they do it. And that's today on The Dr. Joe Show. The ABC has an editorial position that is pro-abortion. The guideline, the style guide that they give to staff explicitly says that abortion is to be referred to as abortion care. And whenever you see that in a guideline to a news organisation, you know that it's just brainwashing. I've talked about this on the show before, that, you know, we don't need to call cancer care because we know that just treating someone with cancer is a health care. Abortion as health care is part of the propaganda. It's part of the brainwashing from the pro-abortion side. And the reason they need to call it abortion care is because it kills a human being, and so we just need to, pause that side of the brain that sort of is uncomfortably thinking about that fact, and just mindlessly say the words abortion care, abortion care, abortion care. And so that's what the ABC does, and they have that position, and they produce article after article after article which is pro-abortion. But I want to unpack with you how they don't just push a pro-abortion agenda, they actively seek to destroy people who have an alternative view and who dare question the pro-abortion narrative. And so someone's done that very bravely just in the last few days, and that's Tom Brough, the Liberal candidate for Albany. If you watched my WA voter guide video earlier in the week, you'll be familiar with Tom. He's someone that at a press conference was asked a question on abortion and gave a straight answer. Let's watch.
Do you think the WA needs to review abortion laws?
Yes.
Why?
Because babies born alive should not be left to die.
Brough was asked to clarify, but simply repeated his comment.
Babies born alive should not be left to die.
So good on Tom Brough for answering that question directly. He wasn't expecting the question, but when he got it, he was honest about it, which is more than you can say for 99% of other politicians who get asked a question like that. It was a set-up question. They were trying to bait him to talk about abortion. They've been trying to do this in every state election in the last 12 months, where they're trying to bait particularly Liberal candidates to talk about abortion. That's what the ABC is trying to do. And so predictably, after Tom Brough makes that really non-controversial statement, the fact that babies who survive their abortion should not be left to die, it's really not a controversial thing to say. But the ABC pile-on happens. And this article by Samantha Goling, who's a journalist, I think in her early 20s for ABC Perth, she writes this article, headline, WA Liberals Albany candidate Thomas Brough back in spotlight over abortion comments. And it's a hit piece. It's nothing more than an unadulterated hit piece. The article tries to portray Tom Brough as this weirdo, as this bizarre guy who's on the fringe, he's an extremist, he's an outlier. They quote Libby Mettam, the pathetic Liberal leader who comes out after Tom Brough makes this statement because Liberal HQ is going hysterical. And so she comes out and she says, it's not in our plan to review abortion laws. And I'm totally fine with what we did when we passed abortion up to birth and allowed babies to die. She just comes out with this pathetic statement that's clearly been drafted by Liberal HQ. And so this article, shows that his leader has thrown him under the bus. Then it quotes Amber Jade Sanderson, the WA health minister, who is the pro-abortion health minister that introduced abortion up to birth and has lied about babies surviving their abortion previously. She has form on this. She's a liar. She told the West Australian when this debate was happening in 2023 that babies are not left to die after their abortion. That was a lie because the data clearly shows that 31 babies have survived their abortion and not received medical care. She was then forced to clarify in the parliament and changes the story to say, oh, well, all of these babies are held before they died and, they're not going to survive anyway. And so the ABC in the article, after, marginalising him with comments from his leader, they then use Amber Jade Sanderson to say he should resign. She says that this is complete misinformation and it's dangerous. On some rare occasions, a woman and her partner have to make the very difficult decision to end a pregnancy that is not viable. It is occasionally the choice of parents for an unviable baby to be born alive so that they might die peacefully in their arms. Not a skerrick of evidence is given for this outrageous claim that all of these babies who have been intentionally aborted, the mother somehow, after going in to kill the mum and dad, after going in to kill the baby, somehow once the baby survives that abortion, mum and dad are just holding this baby. This can take hours. One study in the Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology found that the average survival time for a baby is 32 minutes if they survive their abortion, but one baby in that study survived for 267 minutes, so that's over 4 hours. A mum and dad who went in to kill their baby just holding the baby peacefully for 4 hours in the biggest ever longitudinal study of babies who survived their abortion globally. So it's a Canadian study that looked, I think, at over 13,000 live births. Looked at over 13,000 abortions. In that study, it found that I think it was 1 in 2 survived their abortion, but one baby in that study survived for 24 hours. So Amber Jade Sanderson thinks that these mums and dads who have gone in to kill their baby are just holding their babies for 24 hours. And we just know it's not true. The coroner's report into the baby that was dumped in a bin at Westmead Hospital, that shows us that baby was killed through the abortion, but survived the abortion. Sorry, the parents went in to kill the baby, but the baby survived. And that baby, the parents held the baby for, maybe an hour, but the coroner's report showed that the chain of custody was lost, and this live baby, this newborn baby, was put in a medical waste bin and was found some hours later. Coroner Janet Stevenson says that there was a total abrogation of responsibility on behalf of the people that were meant to be caring for this baby. And yet we're somehow managed to believe Amber Jade Sanderson that all of these babies are held. The ABC has none of it. They don't have the Westmead coroner's report. They don't talk about the 31 babies in WA who have survived their abortion. They just report her version of events verbatim. And then the next thing that they do is they quote an abortionist, Dr. Alison Cray, who's worked in abortion care for over 40 years, 4 decades. So this is someone who is invested, like they are invested in killing babies. And Dr. Alison Cray says, oh, this is so rare, it never happens. And it's just... The ABC couldn't have stitched him up more wonderfully if they'd tried. In the article, they say WA's abortion laws were updated last year to make it easier for women to gain access to healthcare. So no detail about what the laws did, no detail about the fact that the laws actually allowed abortion on demand up until 23 weeks. And then after that period, it only takes 2 doctors to sign off to tick the form, and then the woman can get an abortion for any reason right up until birth. No detail about the fact that Amber Jade Sanderson's law removed the requirement to report these live births following abortion and their subsequent deaths to the coroner. There's no detail about that. The fact that WA is now the only jurisdiction in the country where the coroner is banned from looking at these live births, these survivors of abortion. So after making him sound like a complete loony on the abortion issue, on the babies born alive issue, even though the facts and data is on his side, they then throw him under the bus further by making this claim that he's a homophobe, and he's made comments linking gay people to pedophiles. They write, Dr. Brough has been referred to the State Administrative Tribunal for alleging professional misconduct after falsely linking the LGBTIQA+ community with pedophiles. Gosh, that acronym gets longer every minute. And this is what they do. I've told you about the book Alarmist Gatekeeping by Dr. Debbie Garrett. This is straight from the playbook of the radical left on this issue, where they get someone or they feel threatened by someone who is daring question the pro-abortion narrative in Australia. And then they not only mock them and make them sound like they just don't know what they're talking about and they're a complete loony, but they also then do everything they can to put them in the weirdo camp, and to just make them feel so exposed. And yet, if we actually, I did some digging because I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. What did he actually say? Let me tell you what he actually said. So Tom Brough is a counsellor in Albany, and it was after the Albany Pride Festival and some of the counsellors were praising the Pride Festival. He gets up and says, I would encourage people to look into what minor attracted persons are. Okay, so minor attracted persons is a relatively new term, but the reason we should be looking into it is because it's an undercurrent that's being pushed within academia. So check out this article, Pedophile, Child Lover or Minor Attracted Person, Attitudes Towards Labels Amongst People Who Are Sexually Attracted to Children. And in the abstract for the article, and you can read the article itself, it talks about, the reframing of someone who's a pedophile and involved in abusing children into, destigmatizing language as a minor attracted person. And it's about reclaiming the pedophile label. And so, we can see that within academia, people are pushing this. And in fact, let's take a look at this video by an academic.
My name is Miranda. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a licensed professional counselor and sex therapist in Erie, Pennsylvania. And today I want to talk about minor attracted persons. And I want to talk about minor attracted persons because they are probably the most vilified population of folks in our culture. And most folks are making incorrect assumptions about them without actually knowing much about them. And those assumptions create harm for an already marginalized population. You may have noticed that I'm using the term minor attracted persons, sometimes abbreviated to MAPS, instead of the more commonly used term pedophile. And I'm doing this because the term pedophile has moved from being a diagnostic label to being a judgmental, hurtful insult that we hurl at people. To start with, let's talk about what a minor attracted person is, or who they are. This term simply means that the person has an enduring sexual or romantic attraction to minors. They've not chosen this attraction, just as the rest of us have not chosen whatever our attraction is. You don't get to choose to be heterosexual or to be gay or whatever you are. And you don't get to choose to be a minor attracted person.
And let's not be stupid. This is how the left has always pushed radical ideas and mainstreamed them. It's how they've turned something that we've always been grossed out and disgusted by, and then they've somehow made it into something that is acceptable for the public. It happened with abortion in 1968 when abortion was legalised in South Australia. It had a clear carve-out for viability. It said, if a baby can survive outside the womb, then you cannot get an abortion after that point. Fast forward 50 years, and we're in a country where every single state and territory allows you to kill a baby right up until birth for any reason. This is how they achieve this. Academics Peter Singer, he writes about how we should be able to kill babies with disabilities after birth and any baby, in fact, up until 1 year. That's in academic articles. So they do this because they want to change the way we think. And so this academic article and this academic talking about normalising pedophilia through changing the label to minor attracted person, it is something we should be looking at. So when Tom Brough gets up in a council meeting and says, I think I would encourage everyone to look at this issue of what minor attracted persons are, that's actually a prescient warning about the fact that we could start to normalise the abuse of children. And then in a later comment, he simply says, what does the plus stand for? So you know the acronym LGBTIQA plus, he just says, what does the plus stand for? And so then there's this huge pile-on, and this is what the ABC then reports in their story, that he's this homophobe, he's linking gay people to pedophiles, and it's just clearly without any detail, because they can't use the detail, because actually I think ordinary people would probably be concerned, as Tom Brough is, as I am, but the ABC can't do that. They have to cast aspersions to make it look like he's a really, really bad, sick guy, when in fact the WA government's own website says that the acronym LGBTQ+ is short for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and gender diverse and queer, and others on the spectrum of diverse sex, sexualities, and genders. So if a minor attracted person isn't on the spectrum of a diverse sex or sexuality, then what are they? How do you define that person? The plus is deliberately an umbrella catch-all term so that we're not limiting who is included in this label. And in fact, the website says this acronym is an umbrella term and people identify in lots of different ways. So the WA government itself says that this is an umbrella term and the plus is deliberately inclusive and they're trying to be inclusive. And so, when Tom Brough makes this claim, it's not what the ABC says it is. If you actually know the detail, he hasn't said something extraordinary that most West Australians would be shocked by. It's the opposite. He's actually said something that's extraordinarily based in common sense, and most West Australians, if they really knew the facts, would be appalled that within academia and in certain circles, people are trying to normalise minor attracted persons as the new label for child abuse and pedophilia. So all of this to say, Tom Brough is a hero. He's a straight shooter. He's exactly the kind of man we need in the parliament, not just in the WA parliament, but federally. We just don't have politicians who actually just say things in this country. We have politicians who hide behind political speak, where they don't answer questions directly and they just put their political careers above the truth. So Tom Brough is a hero. But all of this to say that the ABC is just shocking. And Samantha Goling, who writes this hit piece, look at another article she wrote just a few days ago about a newborn orca that was only a few hours old and spotted on the shores of WA. It's just sort of like, well, where's your brain, Samantha Goling? Here you are throwing under the bus, trying to ruin the life of this very decent guy who is just drawing attention to the plight of babies who survive their abortion, newborns, babies who sometimes survive for hours. And then in the same breath, with the same pen, you are writing articles about how wonderful it is that we've just seen this rare sighting of a newborn orca and, they're just a few hours old and how amazing that is. It's like, use your brain. I know you've been through university and you've been indoctrinated and you have been told that abortion is healthcare and it's in women's best interests and that this guy's a weirdo and he's a misogynist. And I know that's the kind of brainwashing you get at university, but it's not an excuse. You're a journalist. Do better. We're going to be seeing a lot of this in the lead up to the federal election, guys. So make sure you've subscribed to this channel because I want to keep unpacking with you the blatant media bias on the issue of abortion. And I also want to keep holding up for you examples of people who cut through and despite all of the intimidation and the bullying and harassment, they speak the truth. So thanks for watching and I look forward to seeing you next time.